You've probably wondered why some men can talk with you for hours, while others lose interest after just a few minutes. Sigmund Freud, the pioneer of psychoanalysis, discovered over a century ago that our subconscious mind often reveals more truth than our conscious thoughts ever could. Picture this scenario. You're sitting with a man at a coffee shop. He leans back in his chair, and you mirror his movement. He reaches for his coffee cup, and moments later you find yourself doing the same. What appears to be mere coincidence on the surface actually represents a profound psychological phenomenon. Freud termed this unconscious mimicry, a clear indication that this man has already incorporated you into his emotional framework without even realizing it himself. Our subconscious continuously broadcasts signals that our rational mind frequently misses. 6 of these invisible indicators are so powerful they can reveal whether a man is already thinking about you intensively, well before he becomes aware of it himself. These insights have the potential to transform your understanding of men forever. If you're ready to decode the hidden mechanisms of the male psyche and never wonder again what's going through his mind, then stay with me. The first and perhaps most powerful indicator reveals itself through behavior so subtle that most people completely overlook it: the unconscious mirroring of your body language. Imagine you're at a gathering, engaged in conversation with a man. Without your awareness, a fascinating dance of synchronization begins. You cross your arms. Within seconds, he does the same. You lean forward. He follows your movement. You touch your hair. His hand automatically moves toward his head. What's happening here goes far beyond simple coincidence. Sigmund Freud recognized in his early research that our subconscious perpetually seeks connection and unity. When a man begins mirroring your movements, his primitive limbic system activates an ancient mechanism, unconscious mimicry. This process operates completely automatically and demonstrates that his mind already considers you part of his emotional territory. In psychoanalytic terms, we call this phenomenon projective identification through movement. This means his subconscious attempts to build an emotional bridge between you both. He identifies so strongly with you that the boundaries between his body language and yours begin to blur. Freud would say, his ID tries to communicate with your id long before his ego realizes what's happening. It becomes particularly revealing when this mirroring occurs across multiple encounters. Observe carefully. Does he adopt the same sitting position as you? Does he match his speaking pace to yours? Does even his breathing pattern change when you become calmer? All these signals show that his subconscious has already deeply integrated you. However, beware of conscious manipulation. Genuine unconscious mirroring happens naturally and with slight delay. A man who consciously adapts his movements to yours often appears exaggerated or mechanical. You can recognize the authentic signal by its naturalness. He doesn't notice his own behavior. Evolutionary psychology explains this behavior as a survival mechanism. People who move in synchrony perceive each other as trustworthy and safe. When a man unconsciously mirrors you, his primitive brain signals, "This woman matters to me. With her, I feel complete." Freud went further and recognized that unconscious mirroring often represents the first step toward emotional fusion. In his words, the unconscious knows no time and no boundaries. It already sees the unity before the mind comprehends it. Pay conscious attention during your next conversation. Does he mirror your hand gestures? Does his posture change parallel to yours? If so, then his subconscious is already working on a deeper connection with you, even if he doesn't know it yet. Have you ever noticed how a man unconsciously copied your movements? This first sign is powerful, but there's another signal that's even more revealing: the words he uses when he believes nobody is really listening. The second, invisible sign reveals itself not in what he consciously says, but in the small linguistic slip-ups that his subconscious betrays, the famous Freudian slips. Picture this situation. You're discussing a work project with a male colleague. Suddenly he says, We could finish this at my place over the weekend, even though it's purely professional, and there's no logical reason why you should come to his home. Or he casually mentions, when we do this together next time, although no next time has been planned yet. Sigmund Freud revolutionized our understanding of human psychology when he realized there are no accidental words. Every seemingly insignificant slip-up, every casual phrase, is a direct channel to a person's unconscious wishes and thoughts. In his work, The Psychopathology of Everyday Life, he wrote, "Parapraxes are not random. They are the royal road to the unconscious. When a man unconsciously includes you in his future plans, something fascinating occurs in his mind. His superego, the critical, controlling part of his psyche, is occupied with the conscious conversation. Precisely in this moment, the true thoughts of his id slip through the censorship. Suddenly he speaks of us instead of me, mentions joint activities that were never discussed, or uses possessive pronouns that reveal he already emotionally possesses you. Particularly revealing are formulations like "my girlfriend," when he means you, even though you're not his girlfriend, or "our restaurant," for a place you've only visited together once. These linguistic derailments show that his subconscious has already integrated you into his intimate emotional territory. Freud distinguished between 3 types of such slips. First, condensation. He merges you with his desires in a single word. Second, displacement. He projects his feelings onto seemingly neutral situations. Third, symbolization. He uses metaphors that reveal his true intentions. Another powerful signal lies in his word choice when giving compliments. If he says, "You look especially beautiful today," that implies he's been looking at you before. If he uses formulations like, "I was already thinking," or "I've noticed that you always," this shows that you have a permanent place in his thoughts. Also pay attention to his use of tenses. Does he speak about you in present tense when he means the future? Does he say, "we are," instead of "we could be"? These grammatical shifts reveal that his subconscious already considers the desired reality as fact. Modern neurolinguistics confirms Freud's discoveries. Under emotional stress or strong attention toward a person, the filtering mechanisms of our language become more permeable. The result is these telltale linguistic signals that reveal more about his true feelings than any conscious declaration of love. Listen carefully during your next conversation. What casual formulations does he use? What small linguistic slip-ups reveal his unconscious thoughts about you? But even these slips are just the beginning. The third sign is even more subtle and shows itself in how he talks about his future and who plays a role in it. The third invisible sign reveals itself in one of the most fascinating mechanisms of human psychology, the unconscious projection of his desires onto you and his future. Imagine this. A man tells you about his vacation plans for next summer. Suddenly he says, "This place would be perfect for both of us," or "you would love the landscape there." He talks about a promotion and mentions, "then we could finally," although you never made any plans. What's happening here is far more than polite conversation. Freud identified projection as a fundamental defense mechanism where we transfer our own wishes and feelings onto other people or situations. When a man constantly includes you in his future plans, his subconscious projects his deepest longings onto you. His ID has already decided that you should be an essential component of his emotional and physical living space. It becomes particularly revealing when he speaks about concrete life events. "When I get married," becomes "when we get married," or he mentions family future visions, "my children will," changes to "our children will." These grammatical shifts show that his subconscious already considers you his emotional partner. In psychoanalysis, we call this projective identification of the future. His superego may still have objections, his ego may still doubt, but his ID has already completely integrated you. This unconscious certainty manifests in his language long before he himself realizes what's happening inside him. Watch for his use of possessive pronouns with future events. My new house becomes our new house. My career goals become our plans. These linguistic signals show that he already emotionally possesses you in the safe world of his unconscious desires. Another powerful clue lies in his way of formulating problems. Does he speak about challenges and say, "We'll manage that," even though it's his personal problem? Does he use us for decisions that actually only concern him? This shows that his subconscious already considers you his emotional backup system. Freud recognized that such projections often reveal our most honest feelings. When a man weaves you into his most intimate future dreams, this reveals a psychic reality that's stronger than any conscious decision. His primitive brain has already chosen you as partner, as companion, as essential part of his emotional existence. Modern attachment theory confirms these findings. People only integrate individuals into their long-term plans whom they unconsciously classify as safe and valuable. When he projects you into his future, his limbic system has already categorized you as life partner. Have you noticed how a man includes you in plans that don't even exist yet? This third sign is powerful, but the fourth signal shows itself in completely different behavior, one that only appears in your presence. The fourth invisible sign manifests in one of the most fascinating phenomena of human psychology, unconscious regression to more childlike behavioral patterns in your presence. Picture this. A confident, successful man subtly transforms when near you. He begins speaking with a slightly higher voice, makes small, silly jokes he would never make otherwise, or suddenly shows almost childlike enthusiasm for mundane things. Perhaps he plays with his hands, bounces his feet, or displays a playful side that his colleagues never get to see. What's occurring here is a deep psychological signal. Sigmund Freud recognized regression as a fundamental mechanism of human psychology. When we feel secure and protected, our subconscious returns to earlier, more innocent developmental stages. This doesn't happen from weakness, but from absolute trust. A man who regresses in your presence sends the strongest signal the human psyche knows. With you, I feel so safe that I can let my masks drop. In psychoanalysis, we distinguish between pathological and adaptive regression. The adaptive regression, which you observe in a man thinking about you, is a sign of highest emotional intelligence. His subconscious recognizes in you a maternal, protective energy that allows him to return to his authentic self. His body language becomes particularly revealing. Does he become more relaxed, almost sleepy in your presence? Does he lean against you more often or seek physical closeness in an almost childlike way? Does he show behaviors like playing with objects or fidgeting with his hands? All of these are signals of unconscious regression into a state of absolute trust. Freud recognized that men particularly regress toward women they unconsciously identify as a secure base. These women activate in them what we call primary trust, that original security we experienced as toddlers with our caregivers. When a man regresses with you, his primitive brain has already classified you as a potential life companion. Notice his voice. Does it become softer, sometimes almost whispering when near you? Does he use pet names or diminutive expressions he doesn't normally use? Does he show almost childlike curiosity about your opinions and thoughts? These signals show that he sees you not just as a woman, but as an emotional refuge. Neurobiology confirms these observations. In the presence of a woman to whom a man develops a deep bond, oxytocin and serotonin are released, hormones that promote regression and relaxation. His nervous system switches from fight or flight mode to rest and digest mode. A particularly powerful signal is his willingness to show weakness. Does he tell you about fears he would never share with others? Does he confess small, embarrassing habits or insecurities? These revelations are the opposite of weakness. They show that his subconscious already considers you his emotional home. Have you ever noticed how a man relaxes and becomes more childlike near you? This fourth sign is powerful, but the fifth signal shows itself in an even more subtle form. The fifth invisible sign reveals itself in one of the most elegant mechanisms of human psychology, the sublimation of his original drive energy into caring actions and creative attention toward you. Imagine this: a man who is normally practical and rational suddenly begins leaving you small handwritten notes. He cooks for you, even though he never cooks otherwise. He remembers details from conversations weeks ago and surprises you with thoughtful gestures. He invests time and energy in things he would never do for others. What's happening here is an unconscious transformation of his deepest driving forces. Freud revolutionized our understanding of human motivation when he discovered sublimation, the mind's ability to transform sexual and aggressive energy into socially valuable and creative activities. When a man sublimates his libido for you, he channels his most primal life force into the desire to protect, care for, and make you happy. This transformation cannot be consciously controlled. His id, the seat of his original drives, has decided that you're worth having his most precious energy flow in your direction. Instead of investing this force in purely sexual fantasies, his subconscious transforms it into something higher, the art of caring. Notice how he uses his time for you. Does he spend hours finding the perfect gift? Does he plan activities specifically tailored to your interests? Does he sacrifice his free time to help you with projects that don't actually concern him? These seemingly selfless actions are actually the sublimated form of his deepest desires for connection. This sublimation shows itself particularly powerfully in his creativity. Does he suddenly write you messages that are more poetic than his normal communication? Does he take photos of things that remind him of you? Does he share music, articles, or ideas he's curated for you? All of these are signs of unconscious artistic sublimation. His drive transforms into the desire to create beauty for you. Freud recognized that sublimation represents the highest form of psychic development. A man who sublimates for you shows not just interest, he shows emotional maturity. His subconscious has learned to transform raw drive energy into something constructive and loving. This is a sign of his potential as a long-term partner. Modern neurochemistry confirms these insights. When men sublimate, dopamine and norepinephrine are released, neurotransmitters connected with creativity, focus, and goal achievement. His biochemical reward loop has reprogrammed itself. Your happiness becomes his happiness. Another signal of sublimation lies in his willingness to make sacrifices. Does he give up things important to him to spend time with you? Does he change habits to accommodate your needs? Does he place your wishes above his own? This shows that his subconscious already considers you more important than his own immediate needs. Also observe his physical energy near you. Does he become more active, productive, creative? Does he suddenly develop energy for projects connected to you? These are the fruits of sublimation. His original libido becomes constructive life force. Have you noticed how a man suddenly becomes more creative and caring when it comes to you? This fifth sign shows emotional maturity, but the sixth and final signal is the most powerful of all. The sixth and most powerful invisible sign manifests in the most profound of all psychic processes, the silencing of his superego and the complete dropping of all social masks in your presence. Picture this: a man who normally weighs every sentence, controls every gesture, and always plays the socially expected role becomes completely authentic near you. He confesses embarrassing thoughts to you, shows unfiltered emotions, talks about dreams he would never speak aloud. He laughs at his own weaknesses, admits mistakes without justifying them, and shows sides of his personality that no one else gets to see. What's happening here is the absolute surrender of his psychic censor. Sigmund Freud identified the superego as that instance of our psyche that constantly monitors us, censors us, and forces us to conform. It's the voice of society in our head that tells us how we should be, what's appropriate, and which feelings we're allowed to show. When a man switches off his superego with you, something extraordinary happens. He trusts you so completely that he's willing to be totally vulnerable. This psychic nakedness is the ultimate sign of love. His subconscious has decided that you're not only safe, but that you'll accept him in his most authentic form. He shows you not the person he thinks he should be, but the person he really is, with all shadows, doubts, and unfiltered truths. Notice how he talks about himself. Does he make jokes about his insecurities? Does he tell you about fears that seem irrational? Does he confess habits that others might find strange? These revelations are more precious than any declaration of love, because they show that his deepest self already considers you family. It becomes particularly powerful when he drops his social roles before you. The successful businessman becomes a playful child. The strong protector shows his vulnerability. The cool guy confesses his sentimentality. These transformations show that his superego, normally a relentless guardian, remains silent in your presence. Freud recognized that we only become completely authentic with people our subconscious has classified as secure attachment figures. When a man entrusts you with his unfiltered thoughts, shares his irrational fears, or shows his childish joys, then his primitive brain has already selected you as his emotional home. Another signal of this psychic exposure lies in his willingness to express unpopular opinions. Does he share controversial thoughts he usually keeps to himself? Does he show political, philosophical, or personal views that might displease others? This means he's so sure of your acceptance that he can risk social disapproval. The ultimate manifestation of this sign is his ability to cry, laugh, or dream in front of you without feeling ashamed. Men who switch off their superego show an emotional range they would never grant to others. They become the person they always were before the world told them who they should be. When a man drops all masks with you, his subconscious sends the strongest message the human psyche knows. You are my home. With you, I don't have to pretend to be someone else. D, have you experienced how a man became completely authentic in your presence? That's the most powerful of all 6 signs, and now you know what it really means. Which city are you watching from? Comment down below and let me know.